From the very first moment this story hit the internet, fans were left stunned, confused, and scrambling for answers. Imagine waking up to whispers that Offset, yes, Offset, the chart-topping rapper known for his larger-than-life persona, might be tangled up in a dangerous, behind-the-scenes scheme involving none other than NFL star Stefon Diggs. The streets started buzzing, comment sections exploded, and emotions ran high as people tried to make sense of the chaos. Was it betrayal? Was it revenge? Or was it something even deeper, something nobody saw coming? The rumor mill didn't just turn, it erupted. Anonymous sources claimed there was a plan, a setup, a move so bold and so risky that even longtime fans couldn't believe Offset would go this far. And the craziest part? Those same whispers suggested Stefon Diggs had no idea what was coming. The tension shot up instantly. People close to both sides started dropping cryptic messages, the kind that only added more fuel to the fire. You know that feeling when drama shifts from petty to dangerous? That's exactly what this sounded like. And whether you're Team Offset, Team Diggs, or just here for the mess, one thing's for sure, this story is about to take a turn you won't expect. The moment the whispers began, everyone close to the situation felt something shifting in the air, like tension tightening before a storm breaks. It started quietly, almost too quietly, with a single message that leaked from someone claiming to be in Offset's inner circle. The message wasn't long, it wasn't detailed, but it was enough to send fans spiraling. Yo, something going down with Offset and Diggs soon. Keep your eyes open, and just like that, chaos unfolded across social media. It didn't matter that nobody knew what the message meant. What mattered was the possibility that something dangerous, something messy, was stirring between the rap star and the NFL wide receiver. And for people who had been following their paths for years, this was a crossover nobody expected. Word spread fast. People started asking questions, posting theories, and dragging up old clips of Offset and Stefon Diggs at events where they barely interacted. Fans were connecting dots that might not even exist, but the energy felt real. Whispers turned into arguments. Accusations flew like sparks. Everyone seemed convinced that there was more underneath the surface. As one fan commented, "Something is off. These two dudes got tension we never saw coming," and that comment alone ignited even more speculation. Some thought it had to do with money. Some thought it was about respect. Others thought it involved someone else entirely. But nobody had the full picture, not yet. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, people closest to Offset were feeling the pressure. One of his friends, who stayed anonymous in every leaked screenshot, said something wild: "Offset is moving strange. He ain't telling nobody the whole story." That one sentence carried so much weight. Fans started asking why Offset would hide anything and what exactly he could be planning. And more importantly, why Stefon Diggs? What would cause Offset to risk everything by getting involved in something that sounded like a plot people only hear about in reality shows or dramatic movies? But the craziest part was how the story didn't start with violence or direct conflict. It started with envy, frustration, and feelings that had been simmering under the surface for months. Sources claimed that Offset had been feeling overshadowed in certain circles, especially after Stefon Diggs' rising popularity on and off the field. Apparently, Diggs had been getting attention not just for his athletic talent but for his personality, style, and charisma, and rumor had it that he had been hanging around some of the same people Offset was connected to. One insider said, "Offset feel like folks hyping Diggs up too much. Like he's stepping into lanes that ain't his." Whether that was true or not didn't matter. What mattered was how quickly people believed it. As the whispers grew louder, fans did what fans always do: they chose sides. Some defended Offset fiercely, insisting he would never be involved in anything shady or dangerous. They claimed people were making up stories for clout. But others, especially those who remembered old incidents and past controversies, weren't so quick to dismiss the rumors. One comment stood out: "I love Offset, but this dude got a temper. If he feels threatened, who knows what he might do." That comment got thousands of likes and replies, turning the situation into a battlefield of opinions. Meanwhile, Stefon Diggs remained completely silent. No tweets, no Instagram stories, no cryptic posts. Nothing. And his silence only made the situation more intense. Fans assumed he didn't know what was going on. Others said he was ignoring it on purpose. One person even claimed, "DIGGS gonna stay cool until the bomb drops. He don't play on social media," and honestly, that seemed believable. DIGGS had always been known for staying calm in public, but even calm guys have breaking points, and the people around him were starting to feel something was wrong. According to another anonymous source, someone close to DIGGS overheard a conversation that made their stomach drop. Supposedly, they heard Offset's name mentioned in a tone that immediately raised concerns. The source said, it sounded like somebody was warning him, telling him to watch who he trusts. "I don't know what they were talking about, but it didn't sound good." That single leaked quote spread everywhere within hours. Fans were convinced that danger was closer than anyone expected. People started making dramatic videos on TikTok, analyzing every detail, trying to figure out what the setup could possibly be. Some of these theories were truly wild. One theory suggested that Offset was trying to sabotage DIGGS' reputation by leaking false stories. Another said he was trying to get someone from DIGGS' circle to turn against him. But the most dangerous theory, the one that terrified fans the most, suggested that Offset had arranged for DIGGS to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. Nobody knew what that meant exactly, but the implication alone was enough to cause panic. Comments like "this plot sounds serious" and "DIGGS better watch out" flooded social media. But here's where the drama got even deeper. Someone from Offset's family allegedly stepped in, worried about how far things were going. They claimed Offset had been acting distant, more stressed than usual, and almost paranoid. One relative reportedly said, "He ain't sleeping. He pacing around, making calls late at night. Something's bothering him, but he won't tell nobody." That comment alone sent fans into a frenzy. Was Offset plotting something, or was he reacting to some threat of his own? Had someone told him something that pushed him over the edge? Was he trying to protect himself, or trying to gain the upper hand in a situation nobody fully understood? Friends of Stefon DIGGS also started noticing something off. They said he had been unusually alert, paying close attention to people around him, double-checking who he talked to, and keeping his distance from anything that felt suspicious. One friend claimed, "Bro feels like someone's watching him. Like someone's trying to get close for the wrong reasons," and the moment that comment leaked, fans instantly connected it back to Offset. Maybe it wasn't about jealousy. Maybe it wasn't about fame. Maybe there was something deeper, something dangerous happening behind closed doors. The tension built slowly, but it built consistently. Every day brought new rumors, new leaks, new screen-recorded messages. And even though none of them had solid proof, the amount of people talking about it made everything feel real. This wasn't just a handful of trolls stirring drama. This was thousands of fans, creators, insiders, and anonymous accounts all pointing toward the same conclusion: something was coming. And the strangest part? Neither Offset nor Stefon DIGGS said a word. Their silence created a vacuum that fans filled with speculation. But the people closest to the situation knew something neither of them had said publicly: they were on a collision course, whether they liked it or not. And all the warning signs were pointing toward one deadly moment, one dangerous misunderstanding, one planned encounter where everything could go wrong. As the pressure continued to rise, someone close to the story finally broke and revealed a chilling detail: Offset been talking to people he shouldn't be talking to. Folks who don't play games. That statement alone intensified the entire situation. Now, fans weren't just worried about drama, they were worried about real danger. People started saying things like, "This is getting out of hand," and "This ain't just celebrity beef anymore." And that brings us to the moment everything exploded, the moment that leads directly into the next part of this story, where things go from suspicious to downright terrifying. Because whatever Offset was planning, or whatever he thought he needed to do, was finally set in motion, and Stefon DIGGS had no idea how close he was to stepping into something that could change everything. The night everything shifted didn't start with alarms or chaos. It actually began quietly, almost peacefully, as if the universe wanted one last calm breath before unleashing the storm. Insiders later said this was the night Offset made the phone call that changed the entire direction of the drama, the one move that finally put his rumored plan into motion. Nobody knew who he called, nobody could confirm what was said, but one thing was clear: the moment that call ended, Offset's demeanor changed completely. He stopped pacing. He stopped overthinking. He looked determined. And that sudden shift terrified the people around him. One friend who had been with him that night shared, "Bro went from stressed to focused. Like he finally decided on something he couldn't take back." Those words spread like wildfire, intensifying fears that Offset was about to do something reckless. But what nobody knew yet was that Stefon DIGGS was unknowingly walking right into the center of the storm. While Offset was making his mysterious moves, DIGGS was preparing for an appearance at a private event in law, totally unaware that the night would turn into one of the most unsettling experiences of his life. According to someone from DIGGS' team, he had been invited to the event by a longtime acquaintance. The invitation seemed normal, nothing suspicious, nothing out of place. But later, that same acquaintance would become a central figure in the unfolding drama, someone who may have been used without realizing they were part of a larger plan. DIGGS thought he was just showing up, making an appearance, saying what's up to some folks, one insider said. He didn't know who else was gonna be there. He didn't know what was waiting for him. When he arrived, everything seemed normal at first. People greeted him, music played, cameras flashed, the vibe was easygoing. But that's when the mood shifted. Slowly, subtly. DIGGS noticed a few unfamiliar faces, people who weren't normally part of these kinds of events. They weren't fans. They weren't industry folks. They were just quiet. Too quiet. Watching him a little too closely. He brushed it off at first, telling himself he was just being paranoid because of all the rumors flying online. But then he saw one of the men whisper into his phone before giving a slight nod to someone across the room. That's when his instincts kicked in. As one friend who was with him recalled, DIGGS leaned in and said, "Ayo, something off in here." The look in his eyes wasn't confusion. It was caution. They decided to stay close together, watching the room more carefully. Meanwhile, outside, someone spotted a black SUV pull up to the back entrance. The vehicle's windows were tinted, but a sharp-eyed witness swore they saw someone matching Offset's build in the back seat. It looked like him, the witness later said. Same stance, same way he moved. If it wasn't him, it was somebody who looked just like him. Back inside, tensions rose as DIGGS noticed people subtly repositioning themselves. It wasn't obvious, not enough to cause panic, but enough to make him feel like he was being guided into a corner without being touched. Every time he moved away from one area, something conveniently drew him toward another. A handshake here, a conversation there, fake friendliness that felt too forced, too planned. It felt like they were steering him, the insider said. Like they needed him in one specific place. Then came the moment that truly sent chills up his spine. Someone approached him, someone he didn't recognize, and said quietly, "You might want to step outside real quick." Somebody looking for you. The tone wasn't threatening, but it wasn't casual either. It was careful. Rehearsed. Like the person had practiced that line. DIGGS hesitated, exchanging a look with his friend. Something told him not to go. His friend whispered, "Nah bro, don't follow him. This ain't it," and that warning may have changed everything. Unknown to DIGGS, the person who had spoken to him had reportedly been instructed to guide him to the back exit, where the black SUV was waiting. People later speculated that Offset wasn't trying to harm him directly but was planning some kind of confrontation, maybe a warning, maybe an intimidation move, maybe something bigger. Nobody knew the exact intention. But the setup felt too deliberate, too carefully orchestrated to be innocent. And when DIGGS didn't take the bait, the tension inside the venue started to spike even more. One person inside said, "Bro, the vibe got weird." Like people were irritated he wasn't moving the way they expected. DIGGS noticed the same thing. Eyes lingered longer. Whispers grew sharper. The music felt louder, almost chaotic. His instincts screamed at him to leave immediately. But that's when another twist hit the storyline, a twist nobody saw coming. Someone from Offset's own team arrived at the event unexpectedly. This person wasn't part of the supposed plan. They had shown up because they had heard rumors and were worried Offset might be about to do something he couldn't undo. As soon as they stepped inside and saw DIGGS in the center of a strange, tense circle of unfamiliar faces, they realized something was seriously wrong. They immediately texted someone from Offset's camp, writing, "This going too far. You gotta stop this." That message would later become one of the most discussed screenshots across social media. Meanwhile, DIGGS moved away from the crowd and toward the front entrance instead of the back, breaking whatever pattern had been intended. Several people began shifting, trying to adjust, trying to redirect him, but he wasn't falling for anything now. He whispered to his friend, "We leaving right now." They pushed through the crowd, ignoring the confused looks, ignoring the forced smiles, making their way outside with urgency. As soon as they stepped into the fresh air, they saw something disturbing. Parked across the street, not far from the back of the building, was another vehicle with tinted windows. The engine was running. The driver was staring directly at the entrance. And even though they couldn't see who was inside, the presence felt intentional. DIGGS stopped walking for a moment, his heartbeat loud in his ears. His friend said, "Keep moving, bro, don't stop. Just go." They got into their car and drove off quickly, feeling eyes on them the entire time. And that's when DIGGS' phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. Only 5 words, "You messed up the plan." DIGGS pulled over, staring at the screen in disbelief. "What plan?" he muttered. His friend shook his head, saying, "Nah, this some setup. This serious." Word about the night spread fast among industry insiders. People started panicking. Some claimed Offset never intended real harm, only wanted to confront DIGGS about something personal. Others insisted the whole situation had spiraled out of Offset's control, that someone else had taken advantage of the tension to escalate things for their own benefit. And then there were those who believed Offset had been manipulated from the start, pushed toward a dangerous path he didn't fully understand. But the real shock came the next morning, when someone from Offset's own family leaked a voice message. The message was clearly recorded during a heated moment. In the background, Offset's voice could be heard shouting, "This ain't how it was supposed to go." He sounded angry, frustrated, panicked. Like he had lost control of the situation completely. Fans replayed the audio millions of times, analyzing every syllable, every breath, trying to understand what he meant. The fallout from the leaked voice message hit the internet like a meteor. Fans were stunned, confused, and more divided than ever. Some insisted the recording proved Offset had planned something but didn't expect it to escalate the way it did. Others argued the audio actually made him sound like a victim in his own scheme, manipulated by forces around him. Either way, emotions ran high as everyone tried to piece together what really happened inside that private event and what Offset meant when he said, "This ain't how it was supposed to go." While fans argued, Stefon DIGGS spent the entire next morning on edge. According to an insider close to him, he barely slept after receiving the text message saying he messed up the plan. He paced around his home, replaying the night in his head, trying to make sense of every strange look, every quiet whisper, every unfamiliar face. At one point, he reportedly said out loud, "Why me? Why would anyone try to set me up?" His friend responded, "Bro, this ain't no random thing. Someone had intention. Someone had motive." The question everyone was afraid to ask was whether the motive came from Offset or from someone trying to use Offset's name to create chaos. As DIGGS poured himself a glass of water and sat down, exhausted, his phone rang again. This time it wasn't an unknown number, it was someone from his organization, someone he trusted. The voice on the other end sounded worried. "You need to be aware," they said. "There's people talking. They saying last night was orchestrated. They saying it was targeted." DIGGS went silent. The voice continued, "And your name is being mentioned alongside Offset's in a way that ain't good." The room fell still. DIGGS leaned his head back, exhaling slowly. "So this is real," he whispered. "They really tried something." The voice on the phone hesitated before saying, "And if the rumors are true, you might not be the only one who was in danger of being played." That sentence lingered in the air like a shadow, heavy and unsettling. Back on Offset's side, things were spiraling even faster. Within hours of the leaked audio, 2 members of his team unfollowed him on social media, something fans immediately noticed and exploded into a trending topic. People started speculating that his own crew had turned against him. Some said they didn't want to be associated with whatever he had planned. Others said they were scared of whoever else was involved. And then a new anonymous account posted something that sent shockwaves: Offset ain't the mastermind. Someone else pulling strings. This cryptic message fueled even more confusion. Who could possibly be controlling the situation from behind the curtain? Someone close to both men? Someone with something to gain if they clashed? Rumors started pointing toward a promoter who had been working with both Offset and DIGGS separately. This promoter had a history of stirring drama for attention and money. People dug into old receipts, old posts, old interviews where he hinted at wanting to shake things up in the industry. Suddenly, everything started to look connected. Meanwhile, Offset was reportedly furious. His friend said he kept muttering things like, "Why would they record me? Who gave that audio out? Who trying to make me look like the villain?" He threw his phone onto the couch, frustrated and exhausted, then buried his head in his hands. The friend asked softly, "Did you plan something?" Offset shook his head and responded, "Not like this, man. Not like this. They twisting everything." But the friend pushed further. "Did you talk to someone? Did you tell someone to approach DIGGS?" Offset didn't answer at first. Then, with a sigh, he admitted, "I talked to some people, yeah. I wanted to confront him about something. I wanted to check him. But not in no dangerous way." The friend looked at him carefully. "But the people you talked to, they the type to escalate." Offset didn't deny it. "I didn't think they'd do nothing crazy," he said. "I ain't expect nobody to lure him or corner him. That wasn't the plan." But whether Offset intended it or not, the situation had escalated. And now, with DIGGS being warned by teammates and insiders, and Offset being called out by members of his own team, everyone involved was spiraling toward an inevitable confrontation that neither of them had asked for but couldn't escape anymore. And then another twist hit social media, this time in the form of a blurry video recorded outside the venue from the previous night. The video showed the back entrance, where the black SUV had been parked. The angle was terrible and the lighting even worse, but people insisted they could make out a figure in the open door, wearing what looked like a jacket Offset had been seen wearing earlier that week. Fans slowed it down, zoomed in, enhanced it, and debated it endlessly. Some said it was definitely Offset. Others said it looked nothing like him. But the debate itself sent the story into a whole new direction. Stefon DIGGS saw the video too. According to someone close to him, he stared at the screen for a long time before quietly saying, "If that's really him, then this ain't just some misunderstanding." His friend tried to calm him, saying there was no proof yet. But DIGGS wasn't listening. He replayed the video again, watching the figure in the SUV, the way the person moved, the way they leaned forward. Why would he be there? DIGGS asked. Why would he pull up unless something was planned? As he tried to make sense of it, his phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from a family member: "You need to be careful. People are talking about retaliation." DIGGS froze. Retaliation? Retaliation for what? He hadn't done anything. He hadn't confronted anyone. He hadn't exposed anyone. Unless, he thought, someone believed he caused the plan to fail by not stepping outside. Back at Offset's place, things got even more heated. Someone from his team walked in and threw their hands up. "Yo, you gotta fix this. People think you tried to trap him." Offset snapped back, "I didn't trap nobody. I wanted a conversation, not a setup." The team member shook their head. "Bro, it looks bad. Real bad. And if DIGGS thinks you tried something, he ain't staying quiet forever." Offset paced the room again. "I ain't letting this blow up bigger. I gotta talk to him." The team member's eyes widened. "Talk to him? Now? After everything?" Offset nodded. "If I don't, this gonna explode." But before he could make that move, another leak dropped. this time, a screenshot allegedly between someone in the promoter's circle and another unknown number. The message read, "Offset thinks he in control." Let him think that. This message changed everything. It made Offset look like a pawn instead of a mastermind. Fans were shocked. Theories spread like wildfire. If Offset wasn't the one calling the shots, then who was? And more importantly, what was their end goal? The tension between the two worlds, rap and NFL, was reaching a breaking point. Everyone knew it. Everyone felt it. The drama wasn't just messy anymore, it was dangerous. And both Offset and Stefon DIGGS were starting to realize they were caught in something much bigger than a miscommunication or even a personal conflict. The only question left was whether they would confront each other, or whether the real mastermind would strike first. And that's exactly where things were headed next, toward a moment that would change everything, not just for them but for everyone connected to the story. As the pressure built to an unbearable level, both Offset and Stefon DIGGS found themselves at a crossroads. Neither man had planned for things to go this far, yet somehow, they were trapped in the middle of a story neither fully understood. The promoter rumors, the suspicious faces at the event, the mysterious text messages, the blurry SUV video, the leaked audio, each piece felt like part of a puzzle designed to push them toward inevitable conflict. And the craziest part was that fans, friends, and even family members were now more invested in the outcome than the truth itself. The morning after all the leaks, Offset decided he couldn't stay silent any longer. But instead of going public, he told his team he wanted to confront DIGGS privately. His closest friend begged him to reconsider. "This ain't the time to meet up," he said. "People watching. They waiting for something to pop off," but Offset was stubborn. Pacing back and forth, he muttered, "If I don't talk to him now, this gonna get worse. Dude think I tried to set him up. I can't let that sit." Meanwhile, DIGGS was having his own conversation with his inner circle. One of his teammates said, "Yo, if he reaches out, don't go alone. This whole thing messy." Too many hands in it. DIGGS nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. He kept replaying the voice message in his head, the way Offset yelled, "This ain't how it was supposed to go." It didn't sound like someone who wanted him hurt. It sounded like someone who had lost control of a situation. And despite the fear and confusion, DIGGS needed answers. "If he wants to talk," he said quietly, "I'll hear him out." Just hours later, Offset sent him a message, "We need to clear this up. Private. No cameras. No extras." When DIGGS showed the text to his friend, the friend shook his head. "This feel risky," DIGGS replied, "Everything already risky," and that was the truth. They agreed to meet at an empty studio someone from Offset's team could access. The location was neutral, quiet, controlled. No crowds, no strangers, no surprises, at least, that's what they hoped. Both men arrived with only one trusted person each. The tension was thick when they walked in, meeting face to face for the first time since the rumors exploded. Offset took a deep breath and spoke first. "Look, bro, whatever you heard, whatever went down, I ain't try to hurt you." DIGGS didn't respond at first. He studied Offset's expression, searching for any sign of deception. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm but cold. "Then explain why someone texted me about a plan. Explain why dudes at that event moved like they were running a play on me." Offset clenched his jaw. "I did talk to some people. I ain't gonna lie. I wanted to confront you about some stuff I heard. I felt disrespected. But I didn't know they was trying to push it into something else. I ain't set that up. Someone else twisted it." DIGGS raised an eyebrow. "Who?" Offset shook his head. "I don't know yet. But I'm trying to figure it out." Their friends watched, ready to step in if voices escalated, but surprisingly, both men kept their cool. DIGGS crossed his arms. "So you expect me to believe you got pulled into your own plan?" Offset nodded. "Yeah. That's exactly what happened." Silence filled the room as DIGGS processed that. Then he said, "What about that SUV?" Offset sighed. "I was there. I ain't gonna lie. I pulled up because I wanted to see who they had around you. I wanted to talk to you, not jump you or anything. But when you didn't come out, I told them to fall back. But they didn't listen. Diggs looked away for a moment, his jaw tightening. That was reckless, bro, real reckless. Offset didn't argue. I know. But you gotta see what happened too. Look at all the leaks. Look how fast stuff got out. Someone wanted this mess public. Someone wanted us to crash out. And then, almost as if the universe wanted to prove him right, both of their phones buzzed at the exact same time. They exchanged a wary glance before checking their screens. Both messages came from unknown numbers. Both said the exact same thing, "Y'all too late." Their eyes widened. Their friend stepped closer. Diggs whispered, "What does that mean?" Offset shook his head slowly. "I don't know, but it ain't good." Seconds later, another notification hit social media, this time a massive leak that blew the situation open. Someone had released a full set of screenshots showing conversations between the promoter and multiple unnamed individuals. The messages detailed instructions to create tension between Offset and Diggs, to stage a confrontation, to manipulate each side separately, and to leak pieces of the story in a way that made each man look guilty. It was chaos. It was deliberate. It was calculated from the beginning. One message in particular stood out: once they turn against each other, we control the narrative. Back at the studio, Diggs stared at the screenshots in disbelief. "So we were pawns," he said quietly. Offset exhaled sharply, anger boiling in his voice. "Nah. We ain't letting them use us like that." Their friends exchanged looks. For the first time in weeks, Offset and Diggs weren't positioned as enemies, they were forced into alliance by the truth. But the story didn't end there. Within minutes of the leak, fans erupted. Timelines flooded with outrage, shock, confusion, and disbelief. How could someone manipulate two major stars into a near confrontation? Who stood to gain from it? Why target Offset and Diggs specifically? Nobody had answers yet. But the situation had escalated to the point where staying silent wasn't an option anymore. Offset turned to Diggs, speaking with a seriousness that cut through the room. "We gotta get ahead of this," he said. "Not together publicly, not yet, but we gotta make sure no one else tries something." Diggs nodded. "We'll handle it. But we gonna do it smart." As they left the studio separately to avoid attention, both men felt a strange mix of relief and dread. Relief because they understood each other now. Dread because whoever orchestrated the situation had already shown how far they were willing to go. That night, more leaks surfaced. Someone close to the promoter exposed him further, claiming he had tried similar tactics on other celebrities in the past but had never gotten this close to success. Fans were shocked. Some begged Offset and Diggs to speak out together. Others demanded legal action. Some even theorized there were still more players involved, hidden deeper in the shadows. But one thing was clear: the dangerous plot had failed because both men had refused to walk blindly into the roles they were being pushed into. Yet the threat wasn't completely gone. Someone out there had planned all of this, and until that person was exposed, Offset and Diggs would have to stay alert. The story had shifted from suspected betrayal to survival. And just when people thought the drama had reached its peak, a final message appeared online from an anonymous account: "This part is done. But the game ain't over." And with that ominous warning hanging over them, the saga between Offset and Stefon Diggs moved into its next chapter, one the world wasn't ready for yet. As the dust finally settled, fans were left stunned, replaying every twist, every leak, every clue that pulled Offset and Stefon Diggs into one of the wildest and most dangerous storylines the internet had seen in a long time. From mysterious text messages to unexpected confrontations, from manipulated screenshots to a mastermind hiding in the shadows, the entire situation felt like something out of a reality show gone completely off the rails. And even though the truth finally came out, showing that both men were being pushed into conflict they never intended, so many questions still hang in the air. Who was the real architect behind the entire setup? Why were Offset and Diggs chosen as the targets? How many people were involved behind the scenes? And most importantly, is the drama really over, or is another chapter waiting to explode? Fans are already debating whether the anonymous warning, "The game ain't over," was just someone stirring the pot or a real sign that the situation could flare up again at any moment. Nobody knows for sure, and that uncertainty has everyone watching, waiting, refreshing their feeds for the next clue. And while Offset and DIGGS have stepped back from the chaos for now, their names remain at the center of one of the internet's most chaotic sagas. People close to them are urging caution. Fans are begging for answers. And the mastermind, whoever they are, still hasn't shown their face. But now, it's your turn to weigh in. If you followed the drama this far, you already know how wild this story has been. So tell us what you think. Do you believe the real truth has come out? Do you think there's more happening behind the scenes? And who do you think was really pulling the strings? Make sure you like this video, hit that subscribe button, and drop your theories in the comments. We're watching everything, and your take might be the one that uncovers the next twist.